Mount Kailash, the mountain that defies explanation ****. In 1999, a Russian ophthalmologist named Dr. Ernst Moldashev arrived in Tibet with a scientific expedition. Officially, the mission was described as exploratory research. Unofficially, it would become one of the most controversial journeys ever associated with Mount Kailash, a remote, pyramid-shaped peak standing in western Tibet, near the India-China border. When Moldashev and his team returned to Russia weeks later, they made claims so extraordinary that they instantly captured global attention. According to Moldashev, several years earlier, Siberian mountaineers had attempted to climb Mount Kailash. Within a year and a half of returning, he claimed, all four had allegedly aged rapidly and died. One of his team members went even further, declaring that Mount Kailash was a time machine, a place where time itself behaved differently and human aging accelerated. These statements spread rapidly. Soon, the internet was flooded with stories claiming that hair and fingernails grow unusually fast near Mount Kailash, that people feel disoriented, and that the mountain emits unknown cosmic energy. Moldashev himself suggested that Mount Kailash might be hollow, filled with hidden caves where ancient, mythical civilizations remain in suspended animation. Even today, if one searches for Mount Kailash online, these stories appear almost immediately. But how much of this is fact, and how much is fiction? To understand why Mount Kailash inspires such extraordinary claims, we must first understand what this mountain represents. Geographically, Mount Kailash rises to 6,638 meters, making it significantly shorter than Mount Everest. Yet while Everest has been climbed thousands of times, no human has ever stood on the summit of Kailash. Not because it is technically impossible, but because humanity has collectively chosen not to. What makes Kailash unique is not just its height, but its remarkable shape. Unlike most mountains, it resembles an almost perfect four-sided pyramid, with its faces aligned precisely toward the cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. Its slopes are so steep that snow often cannot settle on large sections of the mountain, giving it a stark, sculpted appearance. But the true power of Mount Kailash lies in its spiritual significance. It is one of the only places on earth considered sacred by 4 different religions. In Hinduism, Mount Kailash is believed to be the eternal home of Lord Shiva and goddess Parvati. One of the most famous legends tells of the demon king Ravana, who attempted to lift Kailash in his arrogance. Shiva, unmoved, pressed his toe into the mountain, trapping Ravana beneath it for 1,000 years. In Buddhism, Kailash is the abode of the deity Demchok, Chakrasamvara, who meditates there with his consort. In Jainism, the mountain, known as Ashtapada, is believed to be the site where the first Tirthankara, Rishabhadeva, attained liberation. And in the ancient Bon religion, indigenous to Tibet, Mount Kailash is considered the axis connecting heaven and earth. For thousands of years, pilgrims from all 4 traditions have traveled to Kailash not to climb it, but to walk around it. This ritual, known as parikrama or kora, is a 52-kilometer circumambulation around the mountain. Hindus and Buddhists walk clockwise, while Jains and Bon followers walk counterclockwise. The act itself is considered spiritually transformative, a symbolic journey of humility rather than conquest. Adding to Kailash's mystique is its extraordinary geography. Near its base lie 2 lakes, Lake Manasarovar and Lake Rakshastal, just 2 to 3 kilometers apart. Despite existing side by side under identical environmental conditions, Manasarovar contains fresh, drinkable water filled with life, while Rakshastal is salty, barren, and lifeless. Even more astonishing is that 4 of Asia's major rivers, the Indus, Sutlej, Brahmaputra, and Karnali, originate near Mount Kailash, providing water to hundreds of millions of people. To many, this convergence of spiritual belief, geography, and natural wonder feels too perfect to be accidental. And this is where speculation begins. Is Mount Kailash simply a sacred mountain shaped by nature, or something far more mysterious? Myths, time machines, and the pyramid theory ****. One of the most persistent claims surrounding Mount Kailash is that time behaves differently near the mountain. According to popular belief, days near Kailash feel compressed, biological aging accelerates, and physical changes, like hair and nail growth, occur at abnormal speeds. Some spiritual figures have even claimed that spending a few hours near the mountain made them feel years younger. Others insist Kailash is a center of cosmic energy where the laws of space and time break down entirely. But what does science say? According to Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, time dilation can only occur due to extreme speed or extreme gravity. Mount Kailash does not possess either. Its gravitational field is no different from surrounding mountains, and there is no mechanism present that could accelerate or reverse aging. Claims about powerful magnetic fields have also circulated widely. However, no scientific survey has ever detected any unusual magnetic anomalies near Mount Kailash. There is no verified evidence that hair or nails grow faster there, and no controlled studies support the idea of altered biological time. Almost all these time dilation claims trace back to a single source, Dr. Ernst Moldeshev. Here's what's often omitted: Moldeshev was not a physicist, geologist, or time theory researcher. He was an eye surgeon. None of his Kailash-related claims were ever published in peer-reviewed scientific journals. In fact, his credibility within the scientific community is deeply questionable. Moldeshev also publicly claimed that mermaids and vampires exist, that Dracula's castle lies underground, that evolution is false, and that telepathic superhumans live in India. In Russia, an entire book was published solely to debunk his theories. The infamous story of the 4 Siberian climbers who aged rapidly and died is entirely fictional. There are no names, no records, no expedition details, and no death certificates. The Russian Mountaineering Federation officially stated that no such expedition ever occurred. The story originated in tabloid media and was later amplified internationally. Then there is the pyramid theory. Some believe Mount Kailash was artificially constructed by an ancient, advanced civilization and that it is connected to pyramids around the world. This idea largely stems from Kailash's remarkably symmetrical shape. In reality, geology offers a simpler explanation. Mount Kailash's pyramid-like structure formed during the Quaternary Ice Age, beginning about 2.5 million years ago. Repeated glacial erosion carved sharp ridges and smooth faces, a process seen elsewhere in nature. One famous example is the Matterhorn in the Swiss Alps, another naturally formed pyramid-shaped mountain. What about the lakes? Lake Rock Shostal is a closed, endorheic basin, meaning water enters but never leaves. Over centuries, evaporation removes water while salts and minerals remain, making the lake increasingly saline. Manasarovar, on the other hand, has freshwater inflow and outflow, preventing mineral accumulation. Similar phenomena exist elsewhere, such as Lake Balkhash in Kazakhstan. Even claims of NASA detecting strange energy fields around Kailash are false. NASA's Terra satellite did image the region in 2003 using thermal and spectral instruments, but no anomalies were ever reported. The myths persist not because evidence supports them, but because mystery sells. Why no one climbs Mount Kailash ***. Perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding Mount Kailash is this: why has no one ever climbed it? The mountain is not the tallest. It is not the most technically difficult. More than 100 peaks higher than Kailash have been successfully summited. And yet, Kailash remains untouched. In 1926, British explorer Hugh Rutledge attempted to climb the mountain and concluded it was utterly unclimbable due to its near-vertical faces and unstable rock. Later attempts reached high altitudes but were consistently forced back by weather, terrain, and risk. But physical difficulty is not the real reason Kailash remains unconquered. In 1985, the Chinese government offered legendary mountaineer Reinhold Messner permission to climb Mount Kailash. Messner was arguably the most qualified climber on Earth, having summited all 14 8,000-meter peaks without oxygen. And yet, he refused. Messner later explained that climbing Kailash would be like trampling on the physical manifestation of humanity's spiritual beliefs. He stated that conquering the mountain would mean losing something far more important, the respect people hold for it. Others echoed the same sentiment. Prominent mountaineers insisted that climbing Kailash would not be an achievement, but a violation. In 2001, when a Spanish climber briefly received permission to climb Kailash, massive international protests erupted. Under pressure, the expedition was cancelled, and China imposed a permanent legal ban on climbing the mountain. Kailash is not alone. Other sacred peaks, such as Kawagarbo in Tibet and Gangkhar Puensum in Bhutan, the world's highest unclimbed mountain, are also protected out of religious respect. The truth is this: Mount Kailash does not need supernatural powers to be extraordinary. In a world where humanity has conquered oceans, space, and the moon, Mount Kailash represents something rare, a place we chose not to dominate. The real miracle of Kailash is not time machines or hidden civilizations. The real miracle is restraint. It reminds us that some things are not meant to be conquered, but respected. And perhaps, that is why Mount Kailash remains untouched, not because it is impossible to climb, but because humanity decided it shouldn't be.